Yeah, and welcome. So I don't know what channel you're going to be viewing this on, either PapastachePop or Papastache 102. And if you haven't seen the other one, you know, Flip Flop Maroo, check them both out because there's a billion songs. I think there's like 550 songs total between the two. So whether you like rock, blues, funk, pop, country, they're all covered on both of those channels. Now, I get asked these few questions probably more than anything people ever ask me to do, other than requests. People ask for requests all the time. But everybody wants to know particulars about gear stuff. Now, I've done gear demos before, but I'll just, get right down to the nuts and bolts of what I use. And then that way, whether you've seen the video and you see somebody commenting, you can say, check out the video. He goes over all that. And if you haven't and just want to know, then check out the video. I'll go over all that. All right, so let's check it out. I'll get from guitars to amps to settings to the whole bit. All right, let's check it out. All right, so first off, this is one of my two Bill Nash guitars I have. Both my Telecaster and my Stratocaster are Bill Nash guitars, which I cannot speak highly enough of. They are amazing. And, for a relic kind of guitar, they're inexpensive when you consider the other options. So they both are strung with Ernie ball 9s. Every once in a while when I tune down, I'll use hybrid slinkies, which is 9s on the light strings and then 10s on the top. But that's, unless I'm tuning way down, and then maybe I'll put on 10s. But I'm kind of, delicate when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I don't feel like tearing my fingers off putting on giant strings. And one of the reasons, I used to play heavier strings, but one of the reasons that I changed that outlook was I got to play Billy Gibbons' guitar one time, the guy from ZZ Top. He had 8s on there, and his tone was enormous. So I thought to myself, you know what? This guy is one of my favorite tones of all time. Him, Yngwie, all these guys with just wicked tone playing 8s tuned down. So, I'm not saying that puts the big string thing to rest, but those guys have wicked tone and they have light strings, so I thought, you know what, why kill yourself? I'm going with 9s. But that besides the point. These are Lawler pickups. They're what comes in Nash's. They're the S series, so they're like a typical vintage pickup with just a little bit more juice. Now they're both S series in both of my guitars. Obviously this is a Telecaster, so it's the Telecaster S series. But I had this one I had them send me a bigger neck for this one. This one's got a really fat neck. I'm a fan of bigger necks. I used to play Ibanez real thin necks, and for some reason I like the feel of a bigger neck now. And what's great is I have kind of sticky sweat, so these things come already with the finish kind of worn off the back, so it's kind of like a pool cue, and it's really easy to slide around. So any of you that have that kind of problem yourself, and I do it to my guitars regardless, I'll just take a razor blade and I get the finish off of it, and then I get it, you start with a heavier grit sandpaper and then work your way down to like 400, and you can make it feel just amazing. Now obviously if you got a vintage guitar out there, don't do that. But that's just my preferences. So that's my Tele. I'll show you my Strat. Okay, so again, Bill Nash, even though it says Fender, my old boss put that sticker on there for me. He thought it looked awesome, so I was like, whatever, do what you want. So he put it on there. Now these are Lawlers as well, the S series Strat pickups, the 60s style, I guess, or whatever. This is a 60s style Nash, I should say. But this is a DiMarzio Tone Zone, and I absolutely love this pickup. It is awesome. It's not too, it's high output, but not too high output, but it's just really clear and kind of, it's like a good old pickup with just a little bit more juice, and there's not too much bass or too much mids. It's just a really nice balanced string to string pickup. I actually do prefer having them angled this way. I'm a huge Van Halen nut, and I was like, oh, cool, so back in the day I thought you had to do it that way. But I've had it both ways, and I actually prefer it like this. So people ask me all the time, no, the guitar did not come like this. I just took a router and routed it out, and then a Dremel for the little pickup, and we plopped it on in there. Not too hard to do, but if you've never worked with a router or any of that sort of stuff, have somebody else do it for you. Again, 9s on this too. I love the rosewood combo, you know, so rosewood fingerboard, same kind of neck in the back, same everything. I like the guitars light. I'm a fan of lighter guitars. And again, this one's got like a C-cut neck on it, so it's not too big. The other one's bigger, but feels great. Awesome, awesome. If you haven't checked out a Nash, by all means, do it. Alright, so for the acoustic, now before everybody's thinking I'm all rich, I got this used from a buddy who basically must have been on crack when he sold it to me, because he sold it really cheap. I have no idea. You know, my current financial situation, no way this thing would have ever gone down. So I feel blessed. This is a 0018 Martin. There we go, in focus. Golden era. So it's, I believe that means they basically made it to the specs of how they made them way, way, way a long time ago. And I absolutely love this guitar. I mean, it's just, he let me borrow it once, and I was just like, oh man, if I ever come into some cash, I am buying one of those. And then I just threw it out there, and he said, sure, I'll sell it. And I was like, really? So I picked it up. It's got a pretty big neck on it for an acoustic. Kind of a V cut too. I know that some of the other 0018s are the same kind of thing, but with thinner necks. So again, I said I like big necks, so this one was great. Worked out awesome. And you know, experiment with what you like. I kind of like the smaller body acoustics. I just like the sound. So obviously this is what I use in almost every video you see me on the Pop channel. So love this acoustic. Awesome, awesome acoustic. By the way, one more thing on the acoustic, I forgot to say, I like light strings. Again, I'm not into the big, big strings, so I just play, they are Elixir, Phosphorus Bronze, the Nano Web Light. Alright, so if you've been watching my videos for a long time, this amp is probably, or this amp, is probably what you've heard. This is, you know, the Papastache 102, almost probably 95% of it is this amp. It's a divided by 13 BTR 23. Absolutely love this amp. It's like 23 watts, has 2 KT88s. Just ripping amp. Both of these amps sound, all of Fred's amps sound phenomenal for recording too. So if you guys are into recording out there, chances are you're hearing them, you just don't know it. I've met a lot of the big time session guys in LA, and they all have at least 1 to 3 of these, which they use all the time. So you've heard them. The settings, it's really low when I play. I mean, that's not even on 1 for the master volume. The bass, I like to have my bass, you know, like, I don't know, 4 to 5. The mid's probably at 6, treble 6. This thing has a push-pull knob. So what I do is I get, you know, like a good, little less than AC/DC gain with the knob pulled out. And then I use that as my bass tone. And, you know, if you've seen any of the Hendrix or any of that kind of stuff, that's basically that. Like all the little wing and axis and all that stuff is basically just this amp's sound. If you've heard any of the, you know, a little bit harder stuff, Hendrix, Purple Haze, all that stuff, Voodoo Child, or, you know, 90% of the other videos will have this amp and a divided by 13 lift pedal. Just amazing, amazing pedal. My favorite pedal for sure. And it's just a boost, so it's like basically just getting a little bit more out of your amp. Recently, I've got my other favorite amp that he makes called a 915, and you'll know, the way you'll know which amp I'm using is this, the BTR has 2 switches on it. The 915 has 3 switches on it, and this little master volume down here, which is a little add-on that doesn't come stock, but you know, maybe if you beg him, he'll do it because it's awesome with it on there. I usually use this. It has 2 sets of power tubes in the back end, 6V6 and EL84, depending on what I'm doing. I predominantly am doing rock music, so I'll play the 6V6 setting. I guess it's a little more creamier kind of setting. But I'm a huge fan of EL84s, which is more that Vox kind of thing. So it's, you know, for country and stuff like that. Love flipping this up. and it's just amazing. The settings are not traditional on this amp. There is a cut, a tone knob, and then 2 volumes. One's for clean, one's for dirty. The cut's just like kind of how much high end, and then this is like a 5-voice selector. So I have this set on about, I don't know, 6, and then I'll have that set on the 3rd click, I think it is. You know, not over this way, the one before it cracks over noon, right? And then this guy is usually about 11 o'clock, and that guy's usually about 1, and again, the master's on super, super low. You can't see the cabinet down here. This is a different cabinet than I use in all the other videos. The other videos are a 112 divided by 13 cabinet with a Celestion G12H30. Amazing combo. They sound, I just love it. So if if you're a fan of all those old Van Halen, Hendrix, all those other clips I've done, that's what you're hearing, the open back. This cabinet I've been messing around with a lot lately, and I play the 915 with it all the time, which is what this one is. And it sounds phenomenal, and it was designed for Bob Rock, who's just a legendary producer. And that is basically this, just a little bit different dimensions, very similar, maybe a little bit deeper, and it's got an angled baffle on it like an old, let's say, Marshall 412. And it just has a Celestion 25-watt speaker in it, so the greenback. Love the sound, it's amazing. What you're hearing my voice on is a MD409 voice, and it's just out in the room. I don't mic the amp. Sometimes you'll see a mic down there, but that's more for when I record and stuff like that. But I just have a mic out in the middle of the room, so nothing's ever closed mic'd. It's just the mic that picks up the amp and my voice at the same time is the same one, and I just shoot on the Canon camera. So that's that, and then I'll show you a quick thing of the pedals, and we'll be good to go. Alright, so it looks like I have a pedal disease, and I kind of do, but I don't use a whole lot of stuff at once. So like I said, this is my favorite pedal ever, hands down. It's the divided by 13 lift pedal. That is on a lot. So in a lot of the videos, that thing's on almost all the time when it's a little bit harder distortion. If you've seen any of the more 80s kind of stuff I've done, a lot of times this pedal is phenomenal. It's a Wampler Pinnacle Deluxe. Great, great. Well, actually, that one's just the Pinnacle. The Deluxe has the boost on it, which was, this is a new one. I got the smaller version, which is just the Pinnacle. So you heard the Pinnacle Deluxe and all the 80s kind of clips, hard rock, whatever, any of that kind of stuff. These guys, I just love their XTS pedals, amazing. I use this guy more often than not, which is the Imperial Overdrive. Love that pedal. Both of these pedals are great. They're just really clear, open, natural sounding distortions. Highly, highly, highly recommend them. That's a reverb pedal over here. So sometimes when I do the Pink Floyd, stuff like that, I'll kick that thing on. I don't use reverb very often, so that pedal is kind of a dust collector sometimes, but it does sound really good. So I recommend that one too. I'll use the compressor sometimes when I'm going to do funk. That's another Wampler pedal. But there hasn't been too many videos where I actually use that. I'll use that more for recording and stuff like that. This is a fuzz pedal. I'm going to be using this a lot more. It's a new pedal, so I haven't gotten a chance to use it in a bunch of videos yet, but love it. Very, very cool. There's an overdrive and a fuzz. So if you're looking for both of those effects in one pedal, that one's pretty tough to beat. I mean, it sounds really, really awesome. It's cheap, and the guys are super, super cool. The delays you hear anytime I do a video, in the very, very, very beginning, I had a T-Rex replica. But ever since about 2 years ago, it's been some sort of a Strymon delay, whether it's the El Capistan or the Timeline. Love both of those. The Timeline's a little more versatile. I actually prefer the sound of the El Capistan a little bit better. It just has a couple more things you can tweak on it, but the flexibility, and as far as an overall package of how many great delay sounds you can get, that Timeline is really tough to beat. Any of the chorusing stuff you've ever heard me do, other than the Univibe sounds, would be the Strymon Mobius. It has a great Univibe in there too. It's an epic pedal if you like time-based effects. It does a really, really good job of a bunch of bass effects. None of the effects in there are weak at all. They all sound amazing. So Strymon, if you're into effects and stuff like that, their pedals to me are the best. I mean, they're amazing. They all sound phenomenal. So I highly recommend those. But that's it. That's all my gear. That's everything I ever use. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, I'm just using the lift pedal with the timeline over there. And then I have a Fulltone Clyde wah. Love this thing. It's bulletproof. I've had it for years. Never had a problem with it. Great, great wah-wahs. So that's it.